Welcome to another exhilarating episode of Love Vocals Nation, the podcast that dives deep into the hearts and stories of musical legends. Today, we are incredibly honored to have a guest whose songwriting magic has graced the world's biggest stages. Best known for co-writing the chart-topping breakthrough single Genie in a Bottle for Christina Aguilera, her talent shows no bounds. Her songs have been covered by international sensations like Camila Cabello, Sinead O'Connor, Seal, the Backstreet Boys, to name but a few. Hailing from the beautiful landscapes of New Zealand and now making waves in the City of Angels, please join us welcoming the Ivor Novello Award winner and musical powerhouse of Pam Sheyne. Welcome, Pam!
Hey, welcome,
Pam. Welcome.
So good to have you in the show.
Yay! So I know I'm really excited. So just kind of take me back to how it all started, that very beginning, coming from New Zealand, and how you kind of started your music career.
Okay, I lived a pretty sheltered life in Auckland, New Zealand. And my parents wanted me to sing. They wanted to take me to singing lessons and guitar lessons when I was a kid, and encouraged me. That's the word I was looking for. They encouraged me to do something with my singing. And at that point, I was just sort of doing some talent shows and singing at a folk club, and I loved it. It was just like a little bit of an escape for me. And I had no idea that it was going to become a career at that point. My parents grew up pretty social. Well, they were social people. And I grew up in a household where they played lots of music.
Nice.
They used to have social gatherings with their friends, playing darts and pool and that sort of stuff. So they would play a lot of country music at that point. And so I grew up on their music, which was like Dolly Parton, Tammy Wynette, Still Gale, who else? Charlie Pride, Chet Atkins. My father was very much into guitar players. And then later on, when I started getting my own taste, I was listening to people like the Eagles, ABBA.
Oh, the Eagles. Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
And some country music too.
Great songs.
And I guess, you don't realize it at the time, but you're starting to get melodic sort of structure in your head and storytelling, and especially from the countryside, and of course the melodic side with ABBA.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and all the harmonies. I mean, that was kind of a real era for harmony. And oh my goodness,
definitely.
Yeah, still love that.
Yeah, still a fan as well.
So did any of your family play instruments or write songs or were musicians themselves?
My father played guitar.
Cool.
Guitar, but it wasn't it was just a hobby at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
And my brother also plays guitar and does sound engineering in New Zealand, live sound engineering. So he'll go
very cool
and stuff like that.
Wow.
So he also went into the whole music side then as well.
It's kind of like a little side hustle for him.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. He's more of he's a very talented artist and greenstone carver.
Right.
Of stone, the indigenous New Zealand. So yeah, in fact, we're all very creative. My sisters.
I was going to say, obviously, all very creative DNA. That's what I'm imagining.
It's in the blood.
That's brilliant. And that's brilliant.
Right? You just don't know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what brought you to the UK?
It was really my father passed when I was 15 years old, and it was such a shock in my life. And I was in high school at the time, and I think I did another year in high school, and don't tell my son. Very early. And then decided to leave for the UK because my brother and sister lived there.
Oh, right. Okay. That makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, my mum got married again. It was all very traumatic. So I was, okay, exit stage left. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And,
and what age were you at that point, Pam?
17.
Wow,
Yeah, I was
that's
17 years old,
just a
so-
big uproot. My goodness.
Yeah, very uprooting.
Right.
My sister was, a fair bit older than me, and she took care of me. I stayed with her for several months, and then got a job. Got a job in an airline. She got an airline because she was in the airline industry, and then I was like, okay, this is not for me. I need a day job. I do not need it. I need a night job. So yeah, that's when I auditioned for my first music gig, which was
brilliant.
In a band.
Wow.
Band. So that's how I started out in London.
So how did you get that first audition?
I applied to an advertisement in a newspaper.
Was it the Loot newspaper by any chance?
No, the Melody Maker.
The Melody Maker. Okay, that was the other one. Yep.
Music.
Brilliant.
Newspaper. And went along, and I had to buy an electric guitar and a JC 120, and started learning some covers, and I got the gig straight away. So
that's amazing.
My day job after a few weeks because it was just too much to do both.
Yeah. Wow. So literally, were you writing at this point, or were you? No, you're just singing.
Just singing. Yeah, I was young. I was actually underage to work in that hotel.
Wow.
Because it was a licensed restaurant that we were working in. But,
right, of course.
Kept that a little stum.
Right.
But I was there for 2 or 3 years, and then went into another band, and sort of progressed from band to band, and then doing some freelance work, summer season in London. And then you start getting to know other musicians and other singers,
and the network builds.
And the networking building.
Yeah.
I was in the Johnny Howard band for a little while, which was, I don't know if you remember them, function bands, wedding bands.
Yeah.
That's how I started out, learning lots of covers. And again, not realizing it at the time, but getting those melodies in my head, those strong hit songs going into my bloodstream because I was singing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what happened after that? How did you get to the point where you realized, actually, I can write songs and I'm quite good at it?
Well, it took a little while before. It was probably so I moved to the UK in 1980 and sort of started pretty much doing those gigs, not long after, maybe 6 months after I arrived, 3 to 6 months. It wasn't probably until the late 80s that I started writing or thinking that I could even write songs. I just kept building on my singing gigs, and I'd get a session here and there. I'd get asked to do some backing vocals for an artist, and then that just kept growing into doing other work, traveling. I started out in Sweden.
Hey.
I'm Swedish, by the way.
Yeah. It was with a Romanian band that all fled Romania. It was pretty heavy stuff. And wonderful guys, all musicians. I mean, hardly, I think one of them spoke English. So it was, it's not easy to communicate.
No.
I auditioned, got the gig to do a club tour with him in Switzerland.
Wow.
So that was wonderful. I did a Monte Carlo.
Did you? Wow.
At the casinos, like dinner and show.
Wow.
I was the female artist. So there's been a lot of gigging up to the point that I
started to write.
Yeah. Just curious. So you were on this touring the world, basically, getting to know like the music industry a little bit better, getting to know people in the music industry. How did that kind of like work become more professionally? Like, what point did it become serious into like creating songs for big artists, for example, or recording something really big?
I would say, well, it wasn't until I did the Pet Shop Boys tour in 91 that made me realize, okay, I had been writing for a little while by that point, but it made me realize how much I wanted to be an artist myself, because I'd been singing and with artists for a long time. And I really felt I wanted to express myself through my music. So it took a little while to get there. So I did probably around 10 years as a singer before I went into, getting my first publishing deal. And I came off the back of that tour in 91 and signed my first publishing deal. It was a small publishing deal.
All right.
But I started working and collaborating with lots of different people.
Right.
The guy that signed me is my husband. He wasn't my husband at the time.
Really? That's amazing.
There you go.
He was my champion. He believed in me and took me to events and got me collaborating with lots of different people, traveling around the world, collaborating and really putting that network together.
Right.
That's amazing.
Did I answer that question, Linnea?
You did. Definitely did.
So, I mean, you were just speaking there about the fact that you wanted to express yourself. You wanted to be that artist yourself. How did that play out? I'm just going to roll back a little bit. I mean, how did that play out? I mean, obviously you were doing backing vocals for really, really big artists. I mean, that must have been like a major wealth of experience right there. Okay. But I mean, I understand that feeling where you're backing vocals for other people, but actually you're going, well, what about me? Why can't I be up there being the front person? So you went and you started doing your kind of solo career with your own songs. Is that correct?
Well, that was the idea. And then I started getting some cuts
right.
with other artists.
Right.
And I was, actually, this is kind of cool. Having other artists cut my songs, which I liked, which was great. And I didn't even think that was a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think my first cut was Sheena Easton. That was my
really? Oh my goodness.
first cut.
Wow.
And my sort of first top 3 in the UK was Billie Piper.
Wow.
That's very, very cool. That's a huge one. Wow.
But it didn't happen for me as an artist. At the time, they were signing Billie Piper, 15 years old.
Yeah.
A TV show. I can't remember what TV show she was on, whether it was like Pop Idol or something like that. But it was a reality show, I think, that she had been on. That's what the record companies were doing then. They were signing young artists, and I was in my probably mid to late 20s then. I'd missed the boat. I was completely past it at that point. And they, Celine Dion had been out. I'd sung with Celine Dion actually on one of her records, but we tried to get a deal and it wasn't the right timing.
Right.
Wasn't the right timing. So I continued writing.
Yeah. So that was kind of off you went down that path of writing and continuing with those cuts. Yeah,
I didn't want to keep making myself miserable because I really did want to be an artist, and I was like, I've just gotta let this go. If it happens, it happens. And I'm actually making money as a songwriter now, which is pretty cool. And maybe that's my calling.
Yeah.
Continue down that path.
Do you? I mean, I suppose this is a bit of a dumb question, but is there a part of you that kind of wishes that you could have been the solo artist doing your own stuff?
Well, I still want to do that.
You still want to do that.
That's something I'm working on. I put on hold for so many years and worked on other people's projects. And, I believe, age is just a number.
It is.
You can put out music at any point.
Yes.
And you're going to get people listening to it. So that's my plan. I guess at the time, it was hard to, I still had that bug of wanting to release music. But I got busy and I really threw myself into the songwriting career. And in a way, I think it probably fitted my personality. I'm not sure how I would have coped with if I'd have even had big fame as an artist goes. I probably would have had a little, I'm a sensitive person. I'm not sure I could have dealt with people delving into your private life. And
right. Yeah. I feel you on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I hear that. Wow. Are you also, I've got to ask this question. I'm not necessarily going to put this in, but I was really keen to know. It said here that you'd done backing vocals for Daryl Hall. And was that when he was doing his album in London?
He may have been doing his album in London. This was a TV show that I sang with him on. And actually, Marcy Detroit, who you had on.
Yes. Yeah.
Marcy on that same show. I'm not sure. I think it might have been the Jack D show or something like that, where he had some. We were the house band and had some incredible artists on there. And Daryl Hall was on the show, and he came in with his sunglasses on, indoors, on stage, and it was awesome to be a part of.
I mean, I have to say that Hall & Oates have been my absolute idols, like for the songwriting's just phenomenal, and I think that was a definitely big inspiration for me. So I saw that, I went, oh, I've got to ask.
It was funny actually, because years later, when my husband Nigel and I were in Nashville, I was on a writing trip in Nashville. We were staying in the same hotel as John Oates, and Nigel had obviously told him that I had worked, done a gig with Daryl, and so he introduced me in the dining room, one morning in the breakfast, and he said, "Oh yeah, this is John," and of course, the furthest thing from my mind was Daryl, whatever, and so he said, "Oh, I heard you work with Daryl," and I went, "Daryl who?" My husband was like giving me the elbow, and I'm like,
stop.
Oh, yeah,
Daryl. Oh, that Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I had a bit of a funny story with that. So I was working at Pavilion Studios in Notting Hill. And I got the opportunity to go and meet him because he was doing his album. That's why I asked you, was it when he was doing his album? So I was going to go, and I just couldn't do it. And it was one of those moments where I regret it now, but it was one of those moments where I was so fearful that I would go and I'd be disappointed.
Right.
One of those moments, and I was scared to death.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So
Pam, I'm curious. You mentioned like you do like backup vocals for like big artists. You mentioned Celine Dion, and the list is long. How do you, as a singer and songwriter, get to that point? Like, how do you get into the backstage of that? Was that your publisher that pushed you there, or how did that happen?
Well, the Celine one was the guy that cut my first song. Was a guy called Chris Neal, who is a producer. Do you know Chris?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm a very dear family friend now. But at the time, in those days, I think, gosh, I'm almost embarrassed to say, we dropped off a cassette.
Yes, that was the thing.
Long ago. For him to listen to the song for Sheena Easton. He was producing Sheena Easton at the time. And just a lovely, lovely man, and would always hit me up when he was looking for songs or when he was doing sessions and stuff like that. So it was kind of a bit of a champion, which was so important to have, when you find one, hang on to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Chris booked me on the Celine session. It was a song called Think Twice. Do you remember that song?
Yes.
So Jackie
I'm a
Raw.
major Celine Dion fan. So I'm like, my ear, you mentioned Celine. I'm like, okay, hello.
Yeah, so it's, Jackie Raw, another session singer, and myself turned up and did that one.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, Jackie was really popular on the scene. Doing BVs for a lot of artists. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I did a lot of work with Jackie. And
amazing singer.
Tracy Ackerman, who was also a really dear friend.
Yeah.
Andy Kane.
Did you when you used to write stuff, did you kind of used to demo it? Obviously. Mostly.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a more urban thing or didn't really fit my voice, then obviously get somebody else to sing it. But mostly I used to demo a lot of my songs.
Brilliant. That's great. That's cool. So let's just jump to your song, Genie in a Bottle.
Yes.
Which was then covered by
Christina Aguilera.
Yes. Well, it was amazing. I mean, that was such a, I mean, it was an anthem, wasn't it? It's an anthem of a generation.
Yeah, it was my generation. That's like when I was a kid, and like Britney came out, Christina came out, and Genie in the Bottle. I think it came like pretty similar time also.
They did, yeah.
And I was like standing in front of the TV with my mouth down. I was like, wow, what is this, And then I get to hear that it was you who wrote Genie in the Bottle.
I co-wrote. I
co-wrote it. Yeah. So how did that happen? I want to know like the whole story.
So you never know which room you're going to walk into and write a hit song that day, right?
Yeah.
And but I think you kind of get a sense of, oh, that was pretty special, or really like this one. It's very hard to have perspective on it when you're so close. But a friend of mine had been writing in LA, Jody Wilson, who is a good friend, singer and artist, and she had written with Steve Kipner and David Frank, who I collaborated on that song. That was the first song we'd ever written together. And she said to me, "Oh, when you go to LA next, you must write with Steve and David." So I reached out. In those days, I don't think we had cell phones. Gosh, we probably had one of those bricks or something. And we phoned up earlier, phoned up pre the trip. And I said, I've got a day. Maybe we should get a third person so that we can crack the song, get the song down. And David suggested Steve Kipner, who lived down the road from him. He's in Topanga Canyon. They both lived in Topanga Canyon. And so I said, sure, let's do it. And it was the first song I'd ever written with them. And we probably wrote it in 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours. David had been in the group The System. I don't know if you know that band. Incredible pianist and musician. Steve is more of a top liner, concept guy, melody guy, and it just clicked. There was kind of like there's a tension, whenever you walk in the room on a new co-write, there's such expectation. You don't want to disappoint somebody.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
You really got to prove yourself then.
Right.
Yeah.
The room. I still feel that, even with the work I've done, I still feel like I've got to prove myself. And it just fit. David had prepared 3 tracks. We played them all, but he played the one that ended up being Genie, and it was like, whoa, what's this one? This one stands out, So at that point, we weren't writing for a specific artist. We didn't know that Christina was looking for a song.
Right.
They obviously had connections. They had connections with Ron Fair, who was Christina's A&R guy, and pitched the song. My friend Shelley Piken, who had What a Girl Wants, was actually the first single. That was going to be the first single. And that was tough because Shelley and I were friends. We were on the same publishing label at the time, Hit and Run Music. In fact, I think we might have both just left, but we were, we knew each other really well. And Shelley then ended up having the second single, not the first one.
Right.
And it all sort of kicked off. And I believe the timing was right. Everything was, the stars were aligned.
The stars were aligned.
Definitely
Absolutely.
was.
And I'd never experienced it that before to such an extent of the record company who were plowing a lot of money into the project. She was priority artist. It was the first single. The guys had the production on it, which was another stream of income for them.
Yeah.
It just all lined up, the timing of it coming out. The record was ready to go. They just needed a first single. So it was a great place to be.
I can imagine. My goodness.
That's so incredible. Like I look up to people like you. That's like why I became a singer-songwriter.
Oh,
because like that was my generation, right? So like Christina and Britney and all that. So it's such a honor actually to sit here and listen to this story.
That means a lot. Thank you, Linnea. The 90s were my jam, and so many incredible artists and singers around, and back when you could earn some money from being a songwriter.
Yeah, it's totally different now.
Yes, those were the days, my friend. That's all I can say. I'm quite glad that I kind of was around then.
Me too. I'm glad I experienced that.
Yeah. How was the feeling when that song came out and you started to hear it everywhere? Like the whole world was singing that song.
A shock.
Yeah.
From the time I signed my first publishing deal to so 92 I signed my first publishing deal. 99 was a #1 worldwide hit. So it had taken 7 years to have a #1 worldwide hit. And in my wildest dreams, I had never expected that would happen. It's always what you strive for, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Bubble of shock and like, wait, is that happening to me?
Yeah.
So it was incredible. I was in Greece on holiday with my husband, and when we got the first call of it going to #1 in America.
Wow.
That was pretty, like, I cried. Instead of screaming, I cried. We were in a restaurant. Emotional moment because it's every
my goodness.
That's what you dream about, as a singer-songwriter. How did you feel after, actually? I'm curious because now you made that big hit. Did you feel a pressure of trying to deliver to that level again, or how was that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it's like, oh crap, no, I got to keep this up. I went back, came back to America, actually got got married in 99. I just had a number one. Got married in 99. My mother had passed away 3 weeks before we got married. It was a big year and a crazy roller coaster year for us on the way home, because we got married in New Zealand.
Did you?
On the way home, my husband said, why don't we stop off in LA and you write the first song of the millennium with David and Steve? And I was like,
oh, what a lovely idea.
Just want to go home. I'm exhausted from it all. And he talked me into it. We did it.
Oh.
And that was a song called He Loves You Not that we wrote, which became the first single of a girl band, P. Diddy's group called Dream. Girl group.
Ah, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And that went to number 2 the following year.
Yeah, wow.
Yes,
what a journey.
I know, that is just
downs,
yeah.
There's peaks and troughs, ladies. There's peaks and troughs.
I know. I was going to also say that in terms when you're sitting in the room with them, you're writing Genie in a Bottle, for example. Who came up with the first concept of? Because I thought, what a brilliant hook.
Yeah.
So it all started from my. I had a thing in the back of my lyric book at the time. I work on a program called Master Writer now, but I had I was a pen and paper girl for many years and had a book that I would just write on the back page, lots of title ideas, and I had A Century of Lonely Nights, and that led to a genie and a bottle, and so we liked the concept. It was a strong concept, and we just kept working on it and working it through. In fact, it wasn't even called Genie in a Bottle, the song, when we pitched the song.
Wow, okay.
If You Want to Be With Me.
Right.
Not nearly as strong a title.
No, right.
And so we changed it to Genie in a Bottle. And
wow.
Wow.
It's amazing how these things just pop up, but I just think it's an amazing lyric. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Thanks. I think there's so many songs out there. The market is so saturated with songs. I think as a songwriter, what your job is to try and come up with a unique angle or a unique concept.
Absolutely.
Saying it differently. And it's hard because there's a lot of stuff out there that is great.
Yeah.
That isn't so great. And it's trying to be that cream of the crop that is really saying something different, universal and unique.
Absolutely. I'm curious in regards to your writing style, because I have some writer friends that would, let's say, pick up a book or go into the internet, look for weird words that hasn't been used in a song, and then they create a story around it, for example. While for me, I listen to a melody and then I hum a little voice next to it, and then suddenly there's a word. So I'm just curious, how do you write your songs? Do you have a specific way on?
Yeah, it depends. It really depends on the artist and the project, on the end game, what we're writing for at the time.
Okay, yeah.
I very rarely just, unless I'm just doodling in my own room with a guitar, I very rarely just start writing a song. It's got to be a home for it or
all right,
sure home for it.
Yeah.
So if it's an artist and I'm working with a producer, it's finding that direction that's right for the artist. It's talking to the artist and getting to know the artist on a little, slightly deeper level. And that's hard when you walk into a room with an artist for the first time. Getting them to open up. And really find out what it is that they believe in and want to say, and what is unique about them.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then finding a melody that works with the music, that marries with the music and emotion. What is, I always try and come from that emotional place, because we're all human beings. We've got senses. We all feel.
Yeah.
So you want to come from to connect on an emotional level.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that, you work in a slightly different way from me too, because I've worked similarly to Linnea. I'd love to see that in action, actually.
Yeah, I'd love to see that in action too.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that in action.
I'd like to be a little fly on your wall next time you do a little writing session.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, songwriting, to some would be like watching paint dry. It's not that exciting, but for those creators that are like, oh, I want to know what your techniques and tips and all that sort of stuff is, it's quite fun.
Yeah.
Well, depending on how the co-write goes, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the craft, isn't it? I think that I've just suddenly thought about this. Back in the day, when I used to sit with writing teams, it was a very different way of doing it than it is now. And I think having moved into the EDM sector, where they send you the backing tracks, pretty much done the way they want them, and you are very much on your own. It really is a kind of a lone wolf journey, to create that. So that I miss that. I miss sitting and saying, what we're going to write about. What we're going to write about.
Yeah,
absolutely. Collaboration is the key. I mean, I've spent my lifetime collaborating, and I love it so much. It's an important piece of the of the writing a song. Two heads is better than one. Three heads is better than two.
Right.
It's bouncing off each other and going, oh, wait, I like that, but what if we twist it to that? And
I love that. I miss that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't like writing to tracks on my own. It's not fun. It's
it's a lonely road.
Yeah. When I'm mentoring, I always recommend that they write with as many people as they possibly can.
Right.
You learn something from everybody.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I used to say, always try and write with somebody who's better than you, because then you're growing to their level, or at least adding something to your toolbox. And I miss that. I miss that, Pam.
Co-writing in the room. I mean, I'm doing a lot of co-writing online, which kind of opens up the world a lot, which is great. Working with people from all over the world, which I love, and I'm now getting used to the collaboration process that way.
Right.
I prefer in the room always.
Yeah. It's more like you get the good vibe, and
exactly,
pan out in a different way.
I think what we do is such a unique it's such a unique job. It's so hard to explain it to the somebody who doesn't really know much about songwriting.
Right.
Walking into a room completely cold and going, am I going to be on today? I don't know how good I'm going to, and you sort of living off hope and fear and all those things.
It's all part of it, the grand tapestry.
Because you never know if you have a good day or a bad day, actually.
No.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked into a room of people you're going to collaborate with and go, don't like these people? Not feeling this.
When I walked out of a co-write room with not a great song, or like really not feeling that was a good chemistry,
Right.
Really, gosh, I've written with thousands of people.
All right.
And but the ones that there's no better feeling than walking out of the room
with something that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you so at the end of your session, do you go back and demo, or have you already demoed it when you leave that session? What's the deal?
Depending on how much time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd go back and demo it. Well, with Genie in a Bottle, I went back the following day to demo it with David.
Right.
Yeah.
It really depends on who you're working with, and often when there's an artist in town, you've only got a day with them, so you've got to either get that down, or there's a chance that you may not get a
Time
version.
again. Yeah, exactly.
No, makes sense. Makes sense.
You touched the heart of millions of people, including myself.
Oh.
So is there a specific song that you have written that holds a special place in your heart? If so, why?
Yeah, it wasn't a massive hit. Well, it was on a gold album. An artist called Cece Winans, who was one of my heroes growing singer heroines. I loved Bibi and Cece, and listened to a lot of their music. And I think it was on that trip coming back from our wedding in 99, the year 2000, early 2000, that my friend Adam Anders, who is a producer and writer, called me up and said, "Hey, I've got Cece Winans coming over in a couple of days. Do you want to co-write with her?" And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh my God, you got to be yes. So
that must have been amazing for you.
Oh, it was a spiritual experience, actually. It was an amazing experience, because we sat there, and obviously I we were in a studio somewhere in Hollywood, and had to get to know each other. And I'd just come back from my wedding. I'd just come back from my mother's funeral.
Yeah.
It was a lot of emotions going around, and we talked about it, and there were a lot of tears, I remember. And we wrote the song called For Love Alone. And she
nice
made
title.
me sing it. She made me sing it, and it's just a beautiful kind of a beautiful song that I ended up hearing when I was in Nashville for the first time. My publisher met me for breakfast and said, "Here's Cece's version of it," and I think I went upstairs to my hotel room to listen to it and bawled my eyes out.
Oh, wow!
For me to have worked with her, and then for it to be a special song, kind of about my mom and my experience, and it was. It still holds a special place.
Wow, that's lovely.
Yeah,
I'm going to go and can I get that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, so listeners, I'm going to give you a clip of that right now.
Oh.
Sit by yourself and wonder what life is all about. If there's a purpose or a plan, or does it happen by chance? Do you ever think why things always turn out right? No matter how bad, you find your way again. I've learned how to keep it all together, and now I know nothing else matters. For love alone, I live my life. From this moment on, I vow to never lose sight. If I ever doubt the reason why I'm here, I'll start questioning my fears and know it's for love alone. Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about, being a mentor, and I know that that's one of your one of your main roles now is, you know, mentoring newcomers to music. So tell me a little bit about these songwriting camps that you, and how that started, where the concept came for those.
Yeah, sure. So over the years, certainly since I arrived in LA, I'd been asked to go to a songwriting festival and maybe do some mentoring at it,
Yeah.
and giving some feedback and performing at it. There were a few. The Hawaii Songwriting Festival was one of them, and Durango, which is another songwriting expo.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a guy at, I'd literally just moved to LA, and it was a few days after I'd moved to LA, immigrated here, that I was invited on the BMI Hawaii Songwriting Festival, and met a guy called Richard Harris, who's also an English writer and producer. And he and I, you know, seemed to get, I think we were at the bar having a drink. We got on really well, and then we got back together because he lives in LA as well. We got back together to start writing together, and we became sort of fairly regular collaborators over the years. And then in 2017, around 2017, I said to him, I'm really interested in starting a songwriting camp, because what we had experienced at these expos and songwriting festivals was songwriters presenting songs to A&R and people listen to, and they weren't ready. There was craft missing. They might have done a beautiful presentation, you know, a CD or however they presented it, marketing wise, but the actual recording or the actual songwriting, there was some of the craft missing. And I said to him, and he agreed, do you fancy starting a camp? And we did one in Palm Springs in 2018. I think we did a couple in 2019, and started working together, and really got a lot out of it ourselves. Loved it. We're both very nurturing people.
Nice.
And
lovely.
Yeah, we just really enjoyed it so much. And we had people coming from all over the world, from different territories for this camp in Palm Springs. And so obviously the pandemic happened and we couldn't get back in person. We had to cancel 2020 and 2021 and 2022. Still haven't got back in person.
Yeah.
But during that time, we went online and started these sync camps. We just had our 9th sync camp online, where we, this is for really more advanced writers, artists, and producers who can write to breathe, with music supervisors guiding you through the process.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And a publisher at the end of it, Pen Music Group that we work with, our partners, to pitch the songs to these music supervisors and beyond.
That's amazing.
These camps have been working really, really well, and we've got several syncs out of them. I think the last
really good
was a song that was in a trailer for a Fast X movie trailer.
Wow.
Cool.
Oh yeah, so they're going really well. We're meeting a lot of young artists, producers, and writers this way. We're helping a lot of writers and artists.
I love that.
And steering them, you know, to publishers, to sync deals, all sorts of things. So we've got a wonderful community and really so much talent out there.
Amazing.
I love to hear that, because I think, as you said earlier, it's such a saturated market out there, and I think a lot of really good talent gets completely just not seen, not heard rather, as a result of that. And it sounds like what you're doing is amazing.
I also like the whole, like you say, that there's a process, right? So they're just not coming into a songwriter camp. They're actually getting the full support to push the song in the right direction to the right people. And that's That's all you want.
Absolutely. And these briefs are current and active briefs that the music supervisors are actually looking for.
Yeah.
And they're invested in wanting to use these songs because they've been part of this camp. And we just had playback last night for our ninth sync camp and listening to all the songs. And the music supervisors were all blown away. So were pen music staff. And we're like, wow. But of course, these days it's hard to get a publishing deal. It's hard to get in front of music supervisors, especially if you're in another country and you don't know how to pitch to LA music supervisors.
Exactly.
So it's been a great, and it was more really experimental to see how it would work out. And it's worked out really, really great. We do a monthly meet and critique workshop. We do one-on-one mentoring. We also do customized camps. We're working with a professor from UCLA who has a bunch of writers in Russia, in Ukraine.
Nice.
That are
That's so cool.
really wanting to get their music heard. It's obviously very tough for them. To get their music heard. I don't know what their PRO situation is, and it's very challenging. So it's a nonprofit that he runs. So we've been doing these camps for him, and we're also going out to Australia to work with a bunch of talented teenagers, for the second time in December.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's so great. So in terms of these camps, what kind of level does one have to be in order to be able to come to your camp?
So they're all different. So the one in Australia are newbies. We're treating they're from the ground up. They go to a music school and they want to learn more about songwriting and strengthening their songs. So they can be complete beginners or a little bit more advanced. With the sync camps, you have to be an advanced.
Right.
It's a curated camp. So we hear the music. We have to feel that because we get a number of briefs in from the music supervisors that are across genre and a mix of genres and styles, we have to be sure that you're up to the task. All the artists have to be able to record themselves at home. The producers have to deliver all the mixes. It's a machine.
No, and I hear that. I mean, what if you don't mind me asking? What would if the listener was thinking, "Oh, I'd like to look at this," what kind of cost?
So the cost is, I think it's $745, but there's PRO discount. It's around, or $749, something like that. I think there's like a $50 PRO discount, or if you're a Sona member, you get $50 off, or if you're a PRS. So if you're with an affiliated company that we're with,
then you could get a discount.
$699-ish around that.
Okay.
And for that, you also get 3 finished masters.
That's phenomenal.
So it's a pretty good deal. We try and keep it
a great deal.
We try and keep it as low and as doable for songwriters as possible.
I think that sounds fantastic. And so is that just a day working on 3 days? That's so, I think that's a great deal.
Yeah, we need to put our prices up.
That's a great deal.
There's a percentage of giving back to our community as well, and we've had a lot of return clients. We've had 2 or 3 that have come to every single camp.
Right.
And it's
eager.
and a lot of them have had their very first sync placements with us. So
that's what a lovely thing. And do you have to play an instrument, or can you just be a singer?
Well, if you're on the producer chair, then you have to obviously produce and play an instrument. You can be just simply an artist, as long as you have, you can write in a variety of styles, great voice,
Mhm.
and you can record yourself at home. The
Mhm.
songwriter position is probably the easiest way to get in, but you do also have to have a body of work that we can listen to
Sure.
Right.
that you're up to the task.
To the task.
So
And that makes
I'm-
absolute sense. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm super curious. So let's say I'm a medium artist, right? I have released some songs, and let's say I want to be a part of that, but I don't have a publisher who pushes me to the right direction or whatever. So I'm on my own. How do I become a part of something like this? Do I send a demo somewhere, or how can I come in contact to this kind of writer camp?
So you apply at www.songwritercamps.com.
Yeah.
Scroll down to Sync Master Camp and fill out the application form, and you have to include links to your music.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we'll listen to it and respond. You know, we have a high level of talent apply, and we have more people apply than actually get in.
Right.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
And you have to be unencumbered. You can't have a publishing deal or a
Right.
record deal because of the song assignments that you have to sign.
Right.
Makes sense.
And the great thing is you still, and this is another thing because of my work with Sona and advocacy, you get to own your songs. You don't have to give up any ownership. All you do is give up representation. So it's a very standard deal,
Right.
that you have to sign, and it's a good one.
Yeah.
I let's talk a little bit about Sona, because I think I actually didn't know that. Forgive me. I didn't know that you were a founder of Sona. So I was like, oh wow. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I think it was 2014, Michelle Lewis and Kay Hanley, who were the heads of, that started this whole thing. Myself, Shelley Peiken, met for breakfast, and it was more around what just happened with our royalty tax.
Yeah.
Because it took a little while for the penny to drop when streaming came in. Right.
Mm-hmm.
To go from, we went from physical sales to downloads to streaming. And, that was enough of a shock with the downloads. But then when it came to streaming, we had no idea what it was, whether it was a performance or a mechanical, how it would affect us.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a long time for the penny to drop, and they had a meeting with a music attorney called Dina LaPolte in LA, and she basically had a come to Jesus talk with us and said, you got to get off the fence and start representing yourselves, because everyone's got a different agenda. Your manager, your publisher, your attorney, you have to start speaking for yourself. And we don't have a union, and we're not allowed to start a union because of the criteria. We're all independent contractors.
Right.
We started this collective, and it's still going strong. I think 8 years after it happened, Sona was one of the groups instrumental in getting the Music Modernization Act to pass.
Wow, that's so good.
It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of turning up and boots on the ground and really following our feet. And we're songwriters and musicians. We're not accountants and lawyers. We don't know what the law is. So we were learning on our feet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and still learning on our feet, you know.
Yeah.
But a couple years ago, I think started the Warrior Awards, giving out 2 or 3 awards a year to people who advocate for music, to help people in the music industry.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing. I think that's 11 years ago. We started the VSA, and that came out of the EDM sector, primarily UK European trance sector, and that I think that was a bit of a come to Jesus moment for everyone as well, because everybody was furious, like and when I kind of turned that on Facebook, ironically, and I know that you were actually a member in there as well. Maybe you don't remember that, but you were in there. It's okay.
What, VSA?
VSA, Vocalist Songwriters Alliance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember I'd signed that, but it was probably a long time ago.
Yeah, it was 11 years ago. Yeah, and I think yeah, and I think that was around a similar type of time, where everybody just went, whoa, just what happened to everything? And there was a lot of anger. And the amount of people that came together at that moment, I think in the first 4 days, like 64 pro vocalist songwriters all just jumped in. And then by the end of I think it was about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months, there was nearly 300-400. And everybody was talking. And it was the first time that everybody had actually come together and actually started talking.
Power in numbers, I mean, us creators are a little bit like, I've heard this so many times, like herding cats. It's like, oh, I'm over here, let's run to that fire or that fire or whatever. It's hard to get creators in one spot and actually behind something they really, really believe in, if it's too much work.
So right. Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I think that the thing that I found after doing it for 3 years, I burned out. I literally, I was every day, every moment of the day, and I burned out. But I was, and I'm not trying. This is not a negative thing. It's just an is thing. Exactly what you've just said. That unless it's immediate and there's not too much effort to get put into it, that vocalists will come and back you and be behind you, and they believe in the same thing. They are aligned. So again, one of the things that I'm still trying to kind of overcome is finding that element in order to really kind of unite us all together, to really start again coming together and working, because I'm a big believer in the energy wheel, and if we can get everyone with their shoulder to that wheel, then
just talk about money.
Right. Yeah, talk about money. Yes, right. I'm absolutely fascinated to hear what you've been doing, and clearly you've made absolute strides. I mean, made an impact.
I wasn't alone. I was just part of this group, and the core group was so brilliant. It started off just being a few women, and then we were joined by these super intelligent men, composers and songwriters. We put a lot of force and heart into it, and we genuinely, really wanted to make an impact. And I think we did. The board has now changed, and it's been passed down to younger people, and they're doing some great work. It's hard to keep an organization going strong, but we've got the Warrior Awards coming up again in October, and giving out some great awards. So yeah,
I'm so lovely. I love that. I'm going to look much more into this because I didn't know.
I didn't know either.
But then most likely that's because we're in a different genre of music. That's most likely why, and obviously focused in Europe and the UK at that time. So I wish I had reached out. I wish I'd known I would have reached out to you then.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, the thing is, right, there's so many different organizations. We need to all come together in
100%.
It's just
100%.
talented groups and all these different groups all have different belief systems and slightly different angles on it, which is fine. You're never going to agree with somebody on everything. So you know, they're all doing good work. It's but I wish we had that union. The union is what we need. So
I agree. Well, you know, count us in if there's more energy is needed, because we're behind it.
Yes,
definitely. So you're written to film and TV soundtracks, such as, you know, Disney's The Princess Diaries, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and also the Golden Globe nominated song Young Victoria. So can you tell us how that came about? Because that's really interesting. We are speaking with a lot of singers and songwriters that really wants to go into, you know, being a part of film and TV as well. So maybe you can share your story.
Yeah, well, it's a smart way to go because you can earn good money at that. It's harder in you know, in that day when Princess Diaries, gosh, now I think Disney commissions you to write a song. Actually, I was commissioned quite a bit Disney, but they took an outside song, so they didn't own the publishing on that song, which is really good news for me. And it was a song that I wrote with Elliot Kennedy and I 50-50 some time back, and we pitched the song and Disney loved it, wanted to use it. It's been used, I think, in 1 and 2. It's been released with an artist called Myra. It was just connections, you know, coming to LA, meeting people at Disney, becoming one of their people that they reach out to when they're looking for songs. That was Princess Diaries. Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, I was commissioned to write. And it was the first and only song I wrote with my husband. I think it was him. I think there's 2, maybe 3 of us on that song. And they say never write with your partner because it's.
I was going to ask, how was that process for you?
Well, it wasn't easy. Let me tell you that. But we finished it. I remember him coming up with the track, and I didn't like the first track he wrote, and of course I had to tell him, you know. But at the time, I think I was pregnant and probably over emotional. And we wrote that song, and Disney loved it and used it. It was the theme tune, so that was exceptionally fun. And on Young Victoria, Adamanda's again, my friend Adamanda's reached out to ask me if I wanted to get involved, and we had to use the theme for
the sound track.
Yeah. That's the word for it. I can't. It's my.
I have days like that.
Yeah. So we sat down and wrote the song, and Sinead O'Connor sang it.
Amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And then we heard that it was up for a Golden Globe, and I don't think it got through. So, but there was all sorts of sort of kerfuffle because there were more than what the criteria was allowed writers on a song. So we had to decide on who was going to not go on.
Not go on the song.
Yeah.
My goodness. How many? So how many? What's the criteria?
I can't remember. I think it was 3 or 4, but I think there was
Really
writers on. Yeah. And so we all had to put up our reason of why we should be included. So yeah,
Wow.
that just sounds
pretty hard.
Yeah, that because I was thinking of a song like Do You Believe in Life After Love, for example, which is like 10 writers involved in it.
Yeah.
What happens
For an
there?
award, criteria, yeah.
Right. Crazy. I wonder who came up with that.
Awards cost money.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
each organization has their own sort of
their own policies. Okay. So in addition to songwriting, you've lent your voice to like various projects. How do you balance the role as singer, songwriter, mentor, doing your camps? How do you do all of that?
I don't know. It's a different side of the brain that you're using. So often, I'll of a morning I'll get some paperwork off my desk. And because there's a lot of sort of admin stuff to deal with, emails to deal with. And then you have to switch into, the other side of your brain to start writing a song. Or it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not.
But I do like having the different stuff, doing different stuff, and not just writing. I think you have to do that these days. You have to change things up because there are different income streams.
Right.
As we know, when streaming came in, and that is why we started songwriter camps, because when streaming came in, we all saw such a catastrophic fall in our royalty statements. I started, I wanted to do something that I felt I could grow, and it was another string to my bow. It was something I knew. It's grown, which is great, and I love doing it. I love passing on my experience and skill to what I've learned.
Nice.
Well, I've got to really acknowledge everything you're doing because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, we're like applauding.
Really?
Here.
No, seriously. This is we need much more of this.
Yes.
And I think
it feels good. It feels good.
Yes. But also, again, not trying to sort of like move into another territory, so I'm going to pull myself back in a minute. But also with good quality, experienced mentors like yourself. It also helps newcomers, get educated, understand the pitfalls. They've got someone they can come to and say, hey, this is a bit dodgy. I'm not feeling this. And you might be able to sort of come by and say, well, here's a way you could navigate that. I love that. And I think there should be more of that.
Listen, there are a lot of sharks in the industry.
Yes.
And, as a music creator, and I know music creators, generally speaking, aren't that great on the business side of things, but you have to be so savvy these days and what you're signing. I know so many writers, so many of my friends have signed deals that they're still in, they can't get out of, because they didn't read the small print, or at the time they needed the money so bad, it was just like, oh, I'm going to sign it because I need it.
Yeah.
That can go on for years and years, and you're stuck in a deal without another advance. You can't go to another publisher.
Right.
Super important things to learn.
Exactly.
And I was lucky enough to marry a publisher to give me the education to own my own copyrights.
Yeah.
All right.
And to value, to know the value of that.
Yeah.
I sold my catalog. And to build something else, to continually try and stay in a position, position of power as much as you can in this industry
Mhm.
these days, because music creators seem to be ripped off from so many areas. You've
Yes.
just got to be really, really careful and have a trusted community of people that you can go ask advice from.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you're saying about a union. There
The
needs to be
whole system needs a shake-up. I mean, it's
100%.
been designed to be so complicated. None of us quite understand how we make our money, and there are too many people in the
Right.
middle. We gotta go back to owning our own music, being in that position of power, and then making the deals with the people that are gonna hopefully take care of us. You know, we're also government regulated. You know, yes, there's a side that we need. Obviously, we need that with the rate court and stuff. But it's when people are in those positions that they don't really understand much about music and how the whole 360 works.
Right. Yeah.
It gets so muddy, and I don't know. It's something's got to change.
It has to, but because it needs to be more regulated. There needs to be regulation, and I know that there are laws to some degree. I understand that, but I'd love for people to be able to go to a particular, go to school to learn the trade, the craft, to know, much like going to business school. If you think a lot of creators these days, they're in their bedroom, they're creating, and where do they go from there?
Yeah, well, they got to learn the business, because they're just hobbyists at that point.
That's
you're
right.
serious about the business and you want to get into the business. You got to get some, you know, education on how you earn your money, who the parts are. But yes, union. We also need affordable health care, because it just seems
Don't get me started.
It's really hard for musicians and singers and artists to earn solely off their music. They have to go get another job to support them. And that shouldn't be the case. Art is in this world.
Exactly.
You know.
And again, back to my point, the machine. Why is the machine not making sure that there's enough revenue coming down to the people who are actually creating the music?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because without us, there is no machine.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
No, I think creators have to, you know, really push for. Certainly, the songwriters have to push for a union. The singers have a union, right? Is it the musicians union?
Musicians union, but I mean that's based in the UK. But not vocalist focused. And I always see the two together. Songwriters and vocalists are kind of, that's how I see it anyway. They're kind of.
Well, we've got to change the criteria. I think that's what has to happen. And there are people working on that. I know Sona's working on that. I think there are other people like Mercuriadis. He was apparently mentioning that he's working on a songwriting union. So, yeah, we have to push for it, because without that, things aren't going to change so quickly.
No, and I hear that. Wow.
I'm curious, Pam. So you mentioned, right, or you have been through the whole industry where it went from buying a CD to downloads to streaming, right? So how do you, as a professional in the music industry, see the ways of making an earning today? Because it is really hard at the moment for any artist. So what is your current tips and tricks for anyone in the music industry who wants to kind of make this a full-time job?
Well, get a mentor. Get a mentor for sure. I think that's important. And go to these networking events like Durango, like the Hawaii Songwriting Festival, like Acclaimed, where you're going to meet other creators, you're going to meet business people, you're going to make contacts in life,
Yeah.
Any of these sort of industry events are a must if you are serious and want to make some serious connections. Connecting with people, going to gigs, finding out what other things are going on, volunteering, getting involved in an organization that is aligned with what you do.
Right.
All these things. And I mean, with Sona, it was really something that just sort of happened out of the blue, that it was like, oh yeah, I'll volunteer. And you don't realize that you start volunteering with an organization of people. You meet so many people through that organization, and you get so much more out of it as well. So look into different areas of how you make money, look at different markets, look into advertising, figure out what you're good at first. Figure out what it is you want to do, what you're skilled at, get better at those skills, work super hard at getting the best you can possibly be. And start trying a few different areas out, see what you can get some stuff going.
That's some good tips there.
How do you approach the process of mentoring and guiding songwriters? And what qualities do you believe are essential for a successful mentor?
Being a good listener first, a nurturer, having empathy for people. And, I like people, and I like getting to know people. I'm interested in people and figuring out what their story is, and making them feel valued.
I love that.
That they've got something of value to say, that everybody is unique. There's only one of each of us on this earth. So is finding that, is trying to get to the core of the person and finding that that dream and helping them realize it.
Wow, that's a great answer.
That's a really good answer.
I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. I get a lot out of it. I meet a lot of people, which is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pam, if you ruled the world, what would you change? What would you change about the music industry today?
Oh, well, I think we've already touched on it. I think I would, we'd have to have a union, a songwriting union, healthcare, power back in the creators' court, so the corporate world is a tough world, and Antonia, you said it, without our music, there is no industry, right? The core of the industry is music. The comes from the creators. So to continue, and it's a worry with AI coming in and all the fear that's coming around that. I'm sure there's some wonderful ways in which it will help us, but there's also a lot of concern about what that's going to mean to us in the future, taking away a job. So power to the creators, for sure.
If your life had a theme song, what would it be called, and who would sing that song?
If I had a theme song,
if your life had a theme song, what would you call it, and who would sing it?
It would probably be called "Get Out of Your Own Way," or something like that. Andra Day.
I love that.
Yeah, I love her song Rise Up. It's
Yeah.
such a badass.
Good song. Good choice.
Who had a message to share, words of inspiration for listeners, especially aspiring songwriters, what might you say?
I've probably said quite a lot already, but if you want to do this bad enough, get really good. But figure out what you are good at and get really, really good at it. Get skilled. Learn about the business. Learn about the whole industry so that you are in a position of power.
Right.
Get educated. Talk to people. Go to these events. Get connected. Just get interested in people. And don't expect it's going to fall on a plate. Because a lot of us do that. You know, I remember being in that position where I was an artist thinking, oh, someone's going to discover me, you know. It's like, not going to happen. Not going to happen. No,
nobody's going to knock your door.
It can take
knock everybody's door.
Yeah, it can take a long time. It can. And it is, and that's why, you know, I often say it's, maybe the percentage is not quite accurate, but I say 50% talent, 50% determination, stamina, because it's a long distance run. It's not a sprint. And
exactly. Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself.
And get the work done. Get to work.
Yeah.
You know, you're actually competing. If you want to get up there with the Beyoncés and the Taylor Swifts and whoever, you got to be as good as that. That's your competition.
Right.
Yeah.
So get to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get to work. Master your craft.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wise words.
And I'll just add one more thing.
Okay.
Unique, you know, because there is only one of you on this earth.
Right.
Try and find that uniqueness in you that is different, that to make you stand out.
Yeah. I love that.
I think that's great. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time today.
Oh, of course.
It's been absolutely lovely. I could sort of talk to you for another 3 hours.
Yeah, I think so. For another week, I think.
But
Jesus.
Honestly, I think everything you've shared today is just incredibly valuable. And I love. Thank you for sharing what you've been doing, because I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure. And the Sona website is www.wearesona.com. WEARESONA.com. If anyone, songwriters or artists want to join as members, please do, because these organizations need a bigger voice so we can.
I love that, Pam, and Linnea and I are going to get on that.
Yep.
Right away.
Right away.
How about that?
So and stay in close contact, and hopefully we'll get to chat again. Hit me up to LA.
I have one last question, Pam, before I leave you. What's next for you in the creative horizon at the moment? Right.
Well, some more of the same. We're doing more camps next year for songwriter camps. It's going to be a super busy year with that. And I'm actually making a record. I'm starting to make a record.
Lovely.
My solo project. But I'm also working on an a cappella project with a friend in Hawaii that I'm going to visit next month. And what else? For any of your Australian fans, I have a song in the final of The Voice Australia.
Wow.
Team
That's
Terry.
amazing.
So
Congratulations. That's great.
So proud of you. Like,
I know.
Superstar, Jesus Christ.
I love traveling, so we're actually going out to Australia to do a camp. But we started doing these curated camps in different territories for schools for different people. So love doing that too. So there's quite a lot on the cards for next year, and just excited to create more music and meet more people.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You are
Absolutely.
such a powerhouse.
Yes, you are.
Oh,
You really
Such
are.
an-
I don't know about that, but
it's
yeah,
amazing.
try to keep
Yeah.
going, do what I
Yeah.
love. I'm very grateful for doing what I love in my career. So
That's great.
all my life. So
We are grateful to hear your story, and thank you for
Thank you.
sitting
And
down
thank
with
you
us
for your
today.
time today. Truly, it's been an absolute honor.
a
Yeah.
real pleasure to chat with you.
Okay. Well, we'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your day in LA.
Yeah. Let's stay in touch because we're doing a lot of vocalist things. We're also standing up for vocalist rights and
Yeah.
talking about union. We will probably be in touch with you because we're
Yeah.
building something special. So
Yeah.
let's keep in touch.
Fantastic.
Great.
In touch.
Take
All right,
care.
ladies.
Bye
Take
bye now.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap from this captivating episode of True Talk with Pam Sheyne. Today, we dove deep into the soul of songwriting. Pam, thank you so much for sharing today, your passion, your incredible stories, and your wisdom with us. To our listeners, we hope you were inspired by Pam's journey and her wisdom. Remember, the power of love and vocals transcends all boundaries, and Pam is living proof of that. I know recently we have been bringing you one of these fantastic podcasts every week, but due to our workload, we figured it was better for us to just do one every month and then just try and build this up, but bring you something really, really meaty and juicy. Please bear with us. Keep the love for vocalists and songwriters alive. Subscribe, tune in to Love Vocals Nation, True Talk.